Hello, Jen here with my layout for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club telephone game round 6. So I'm really super excited because this is the first time that I get to actually end the round. I've started it, I've been in the middle, and now I get to end it. So I think that that's really cool. It's kind of come full circle for me. So the other people in our group, the Artistic Arsenal group, are Shannon, Kristen, Danny, Vanessa, Sandy, Christina, Melissa, and myself. So all of their links will be down below. You'll be able to go and check them out. So I guess you have a choice. You can start with mine and maybe work your way backwards to see what the original layout was that we were all trying to scrap lift. Or you can go click on Shannon's link down below and start with hers. She started off this round for our group, and then watch it transform all the way to mine. Either way you do it, it's going to be tons of fun. All the layouts are so fantastic. So definitely go check out those links. And if you haven't caught the telephone game before, it's basically like the telephone game that we used to play when we were kids. You start off with someone whispering something into your ear, and then each person whispers what they heard into the next person's ear until you get to the last person who reveals what they think you might have said based on what they heard. Similarly, with our telephone game, one person starts by creating a layout, so that was Shannon, and then she sent her layout to Kristen. Kristen scrap lifted her and then sent the layout she created to Danny. Danny scrap lifted Kristen, and so on and so forth through the entire group. And so in the same way that what you might have heard has transformed, the layouts kind of transform from one person to the next. So it's tons and tons of fun. There's a whole bunch of teams. Go and check them all out. Lots of inspiration, and just kind of neat to see the transformation from one person to the next. So I got my layout from Melissa. I showed it to you at the beginning. Her link as well is down below, so you can go and see how she created her layout. And so what you can see here that I took for mine is I'm using a pattern paper as my background, and the reason I mention that is because it's something that I don't do that often, so I really wanted to pull that inspiration from her layout. So I have a pattern paper in the background. I really liked how she had some ripped strips of paper. She, I think, only has 3 strips. I'm using a How to Kill a Kit with Style kit, my kit for September, and it's got a bunch of these paper pads, and I'm trying to just use up as many as I can. So instead of just doing 3 strips, I just pulled out all of the scraps that I have left over and ripped those up, and so I have a whole bunch of strips. But I love doing that. I also added some gesso onto my background here, you can see, because I could see that there was just a little touch of some either white acrylic paint or gesso kind of peeking behind her layers, and so I wanted to get that in there too. She also has some black and white splatters, so I'm using pink and blue for my splatters. And I think that kind of is where, and then the other thing is I'm going to use the same title as hers. But I'm going to take my layers and stick them right in the center of my paper, or of my background. I do use 2 photos as well. That's another thing that I kept from her. So I started off with those 2 photos, and, well, I guess I started off by putting some gesso on the background, set that aside to dry, and now I'm kind of working on my layers as I go. This, for me, is something that I do really often. That way I don't have to stop working on the layout when I have an idea and I'm kind of on a roll. I don't want to necessarily stop. So I was able, while the gesso was drying, to get my photos backed and just pull out all of those scraps of paper that I have and start tearing them into their strips. So you can see how I've just kind of assembled them into different sizes, different lengths, and even different widths. I just ripped where it kind of looked like it should rip. And all of the papers are from different places. So there's a couple different paper pads in my kit this month. There is a Recollections one. They're all really old. So there's a Recollections one. There is the Dear Lizzie I think is it Documented? I think that's what it's called, or documentary. It's also quite old. And then there's the Oh Darling paper pad from Crate Paper. All of them were hot buys from Michaels, so they might not be the exact same paper pads that were released through American Crafts, but they're very similar. And so I just, whatever scraps I've kind of had left over, I've been keeping them at the top of my kit, and I just pulled all of those out. There's also a couple of little scraps there, the blue polka dot paper, for example, and the little flower paper. Those actually came from the Summer Lights paper pad from Pink Paisley. They were scraps that I had lying around and decided to just throw in with the rest of my papers. And I kind of wanted to have that brighter pop of blue because everything else was quite muted and a little bit more pastel-y, except on the ampersand paper, I find the red is really bright and it stands out quite a bit. So the blue to me kind of offset that because they're sort of complementary. So once my gesso was all dry, I decided to go ahead and sprinkle my little splatters before I put my picture and everything down. Normally I would do it after, but I thought I might want to add even more colors when I was done, or maybe some gold or something like that. So I went ahead and added a little bit of magenta color shine from Heidi Swap and just some blue from my watercolor palette, and then that way they could dry before I went and put all of these layers on. And then if I did, which I guess I do in the end, add some gold, it wouldn't, they wouldn't mix or run or anything like that. So that's kind of a good trick. If you know you're going to do a lot of splatters and you need to have them kind of layered because you don't want them to start mixing, and you also are maybe running short of time, which I'm doing now because I feel like I'm always trying to beat the sun going down lately. Splatter kind of as you go. So splatter something while you're still working on your background, let that dry. Then you can add another color, maybe, you know, in the middle of creating your embellishments, and let that dry. And then that way they don't mix together on the paper. So once those were all dry, I went ahead and just plopped my layers down. I just stuck them right in the center of the page. And now I'm going through all of my sticker sheets. So you've seen me do this a bunch this month with this kind of mishmashed kit that I have. I just started pulling out stickers. I'm really trying to use up as many as I can off of all of these sheets. So in this particular case, I was looking for flowers mostly because that is what Melissa has used. I absolutely adore Melissa's layout. I really like how she got a lot of details and a lot of fun little elements like the ripped pages and stuff, but it still looks so clean and pretty. Mine definitely wouldn't be clean or simple or any of those things. I kind of went in the opposite direction, and I think I've been doing that a lot this month because the papers, for some reason, that's kind of just how I feel they work the best for me, is just tons of layering and adding lots of elements, and I'm getting lots of stuff used up, so that's definitely a lot of fun. But I found tons of little flowers in the Amy Tangerine sticker sheets that I have, and I even got some in there from the Chamel sticker book that I have, and it didn't really matter to me if the styles matched or anything like that, as long as they were kind of in tones of pinks or reds or blue, green, mint, teals. I even added a little bit of yellow in there. I just threw whatever I could find. I pulled out a bunch of flowers from the iris container that I have in the kit. It's just filled with a mishmash of different collections and things. And so I found some paper flowers in there, and I found just random die cuts that don't belong with more of a kit. They probably, I think most of them came from my Scrapbook and Cards Today samplers and those types of little bits of kits that I've acquired throughout the years, so I might only have 1 or 2 die cuts, and so I just pulled all of those out. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. You can see they're all kind of tucked behind my right hand there, so I did get a few of them on there, but I don't get every single one that I pulled out. I definitely built up a lot of layers and I crammed a lot of things in there, but I didn't want to just be excessive and start piling things up for the sake of using them up. I still kind of wanted to have a little bit of control to the chaos, I guess you could say. And so here you just saw me put the title down. I went ahead and used the same title as Melissa, so it says The Best, and I had to do it with 2 different fonts. And then I also added crepes down at the bottom because that's what Kaylin's eating. So my title is The Best Crepes. And then here you can see I went ahead and added some of that Heidi Swapp color shine in gold, and I've added a bunch of enamel dots, and that's it. Oh, actually, I should let you know too, I did add a 3rd little cluster. I was kind of playing around when my battery died, a flare and a flower, and I also put in a few little wood veneers, so you can see it right there. That's the 3rd cluster, and I think that is it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. There are links down below, like I've said. Go and check them out so you can follow the transition of the layouts. I hope you have a ton of fun doing it because the layouts are so phenomenal. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, happy scrapping. Stay safe. Bye.